It's time for the Other Three Amigos podcast.
Find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
On this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast, we perhaps have the worst internet issues of all time. We discuss Donal O'Connor's move to Brentford. Should attendances be a big worry at the Cross? We discuss new signing Yuna Go on the women's side. Was the Harps game the most boring game of the season? Let's talk about City's shit defending in the Athlone game. And was that the worst transfer window in City history? All of this and more, including our mailbag, on this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast. Welcome to Season 6, Episode 26, Episode 352 of your multi-award winning podcast. Throw us a 5-star rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Dan Casey here, and I'm joined by my other two amigos. They are Decky and Dom. Why not join us on Patreon, patreon.com/TOTAP. We're doing our best with the time we have. €5 a month to join. We've given fuck all to Patreons over the last few months. But anyway, we're also delighted to have Saley as sponsors of the podcast. Sign up now for 4 bonus months at saley.com/TOTAP. You're helping out the pod and you get something back, including your 30-day money back guarantee. Dom, how are you? It's been a minute. How are we keeping?
I'm all good, Dan. How are you?
Not too bad. Not too bad. It's very, I don't know, considered start. Well, how's life been? Are you up to much?
Hey, finding babies to shout at and puppies to kick and stuff. Just been a general nuisance around the city.
Up to your old shenanigans again as usual. Decky,
why change?
Have you been kicking any babies or shouting at any dogs lately?
No, but I have been shouting at dogs and kicking babies. No, did that go wrong? I don't know. I can't. Anyway,
it's the wrong way around.
Yeah, I wanted to swap them the wrong way. Swap them whatever way you said it, say the opposite way. But I fear I may have fucked it up. But look,
all right.
No, everything's good, Dan. I think it's going to be an interesting pod, as always. We have pride. We have transfers out. We have possible rumours of transfers in or deals done, and the two boys know nothing about this, and Dom's eyes have just opened up, so we'll see where the pod takes us as we go.
Well, it's certainly been an interesting start. There's no games in the for the Academy Watch section here. We will get into what people want to hear about in Academy Watch, in Commie Watch, but Decky, hit us maestro.
You think no, I'd have it ready after all my bashing of Carey.
Commie Watch with Ivan Draco on the Other Three Amigos podcast.
Well, first of all, we have to big up TOTAP's very own Eileen Ring, who was LOI TV commentator on Cork City's win over Douglas Hall in the FAI Cup, where they won 1-0. Decky, great to see TOTAPers getting gigs like this.
Yeah, look, I mean, to be fair, now in the game between Douglas Hall and Cork City, Eileen's the only one in the country qualified to do that commentary. Obviously, she knows both sides inside out. What I didn't realise up until about 3 minutes before the game started, I thought she was on co-coms and there was an experienced commentator there and she'd just be pitching in. But no, it was a one-woman gig and she was all on her own. And fair play to Eileen, she handled it magnificently and did a brilliant job.
What did you make of our new signing, Yuna Go, who got the only goal of the game?
It was a great goal. Do you know what I mean? It's a lovely finish, individual goal. Listen, like you talk about left field signings, that is possibly the most left field signing ever in the League of Ireland. Women's, men's, under 23s, anything But listen, she scored in her debut, did well. We're away to Shelbourne tomorrow night, which is we're recording on Tuesday night because of the bank holiday. So Wednesday night, we'll hopefully see more of her away to Shelbourne. And there's a cup semi-final coming up the weekend of the 22nd of August. Ironically enough, against Shelbourne, drawn at home to Shelbourne today. So listen, if she can find a net on a regular basis, it will be fantastic addition to the squad because we do need somebody to score goals.
Dom, was this signing you were? I know I certainly was anyway. That you were surprised to see.
Oh God, yeah. We were looking at it going, how did this come about at all? Interesting one, but it was great that she was able to start off with a Yuna goal. And a nice...
The meme opportunity, if it was a men's player for this pod, would have been incredible. But look, opportunities wasted. We'll have to keep in touch.
The Douglas Hall one was a good start. It's handy for that bit of a game for her to get to know players around and get to know everything and stuff. It was handy the way it felt that she was able to come in just before a game like that. Made it a bit easier to settle in, you'd think. But then the other thing is, you'd be wondering, could that give her a bit of a false start or anything, or false expectations of what's to come?
Decky, are we potentially going to see more signings at the club in general on both men's and women's side from this side of the world, or is it just a one and done, do you think?
I genuinely have no idea. I don't know. I think this was through an agent. Obviously, everything's through an agent. I say transfer window. I don't know how many hours Derek would have spent watching tape and this agent sending them this player and whatnot. You know, obviously they saw something in Yuna Go that they liked on what they saw, and they managed to get the deal done. You know, I think there was a couple of other Irish clubs had a look as well, and as I said, City were the ones who were able to get the deal done. So, scores in her debut. Listen, Shelburne away tomorrow night, Treaty United away on Saturday. We'll know a lot more by this time next week, definitely, you know. Hopefully she kicks on and keeps scoring goals.
Well, we have the incomings. We also have the outgoings. Donal O'Connor will be joining Brentford for 170,000. Should O'Connor progress from the club's B squad into the first team, City will earn additional income of €200,000. Further increments will be paid for international honours and a significant slice of any future transfer fee. Dom, what was your thoughts when you saw this?
Like, price tag that was... The money that we got from is nothing, essentially. If it had been that money up front, regardless of whether he gets into the first team and stuff, it was 370 grand, then maybe, yeah. At first I was like, okay, that's not bad. But then when I was thinking about it afterwards, I was like, okay, we've probably undervalued ourselves again here, which is an interesting trend that seems to happen with young players who come through the academy. It is frustrating because he looked very good in the first team when he did get those couple of appearances, and I was hoping that we'd be able to see him next season, that he'd be able to make a break into the squad and give us some different option. I feel like we've been poor defensively all season and probably couldn't afford to lose another centre-back after the window's closed and we can't replace him.
Well, I was just going to go to you, Decky. Were you surprised to see this move happen in the first place? You forget the money aspect for a second, for us to lose a player even.
Yeah, I was when I saw it. Can I just ask before we go any further, the piece you read out there, where is that from? Because I hadn't seen that.
I believe the Irish Examiner, the John Fallon article.
That's from John Fallon's article, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I did read that, but I didn't cop the small detail in it. Yeah, I was surprised because obviously he signed the new deal 3 weeks ago, and it was obviously publicly announced by the club that he had signed the new long-term deal. So then you kind of get to hear and you go, Jesus Christ, how was there such a small time span between the two? I don't know what the answer to that is. I believe, just from kind of speaking to people and whatnot, that at the time the deal was signed, Donal was quite happy to stay here. There was a few clubs interested, and his attitude was, if they want me, they'll sign me. I'm going to look after myself here, get myself a pro deal, up my wages, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Long term, I believe it will happen, and I'm happy enough to stay or to go, but I'm going to ensure that if I'm staying properly, which is a fantastic attitude. The fee, the 170, I think people are expecting me to blow my lid here now, and if we recorded this even last night, I probably would. But I did go and speak to a few people and try and figure shit out and try and be fair. And I think one of the things is that the 170, I think John Fallon got his info from the Brentford side of things. which means it's English info. The 170, my feeling is because I was told it was 200,000. And if you put 170 sterling into a currency calculator, it comes out at 199,900 and something, you know. So I think the 170 that John has quoted is probably sterling, and it's 200,000 euros up front. What I'm told is that the add-ons for another 200,000 are extremely, extremely, extremely achievable, which brings it to 400,000. And there's another 200,000 in further add-ons, which are not, you know, your international caps and 10 international caps and all this kind of stuff, that they are, again, what most people would consider over the course of 2 or 3 years achievable add-ons again, which would be 6. And there's a decent to big sell-on clause as well. Now, I don't like sell-on clauses. They've never come to fruition. I'm very much of the mindset that I'd like the money up front these days. So, and listen, I tweeted about this the other night and I said, if this figure is correct, we're all wasting our time. But to be fair, I went and spoke to people, and the general consensus around the place is, listen, the club have done okay here. In terms of, you've got a lad who's played maybe 6 first-team games, right? And the two I thought of were the two lads who left Dundalk, Sean Keogh and Vinnie Leonard, because they're both centre-backs as well. You know what I mean? They're both back four players, so they're very comparable. And Sean Keogh went Dundalk to Brighton in this time last year, wasn't it? 2025, for undisclosed, but basically it says around the internet it's about 240k at the time. And he had a year. Sorry, he didn't have a year. He had 6 months under his belt in first team senior football. Vinnie Leonard went to Norwich from Dundalk for 400k. He made his senior debut in February 24 and he was sold in February 26. So he had 2 years in around the first team playing thing, and he went for 400. So when you look at the comparisons, you kind of go, okay, we're getting 200 up front and expected 400 because of the add-ons are easily enough achievable, and a very possible another 200. And if he does really well, we have a decent slice of the sell-on fee as well. It's probably not, to be fair to the club, it's not the worst, I don't think. It reads terribly. Like that 170 headline reads terribly. But if you dig down into it, I think there's a lot of people around the club who are happy enough that this is a better deal than it could have been. Because Donald's only here, I don't know, it's only 18 months or so, Dom. He's not even here. So the compo, and if it went the compo route and that, it wouldn't be much. And they somehow got him to sign a deal when it was possible he was going and all that. So I think there's a little bit of it now is, yeah, I'm always going to feel like we're undervaluing our players. But at the same time, this is one that we might actually all have to just take a deep breath and go, hang on a second here now. If we can pull 500,000, 600,000 out of this over the next 2 or 3 years, plus the sell on, if that was to come to fruition, this might be the first sign that the club are on an upward trajectory. Because I was like, there was other stuff today explained to me around, and I don't know how much time you want to spend on this, Dan, but like around our academy isn't comparable to Shamrock Rovers. So the 2 million for Ashenvunen or whatever else they get, it's not our academy isn't comparable because we're years behind them. And like, I didn't know any of this stuff, like, but somebody was explaining to me that young fellas know, like, when a club comes in, they don't just go, we want to sign Dan Casey there. I think he's been a brilliant centre back for the last fucking 6 games or 7 games, so we'll give you 200,000 for him. They want to know what his weight and his height was at 30, what his weight and his height was at 14, what they were at 15. Why did he come back when he left in the off season in 15? Why did he come back in 16 at 16 years of age? Why did he come back a stone heavier? Why did he come back 4, 5, 6 inches taller? Was it puberty, or was it work he did in the gym offset? And you have to be able to have all this information to hand, relay it to the purchasing club and all that. And Rovers are way further along the line with that stuff than what we are. And like the puberty one blew me away, like, because like they're talking about fucking tracking puberty in young fellas from whatever 13 to 15. Is this puberty related or is it training related? Is this that Dan hit weights or was it puberty? And they want all that, and they want it known, they want it broken down, and they want it fucking, you should have the stats, you should have the software, you should have all this tracking. And they feel they're taking a bigger risk if we can't provide that stuff. And I'm not saying that we can't. I'm just saying, you know, you're tracking guys for 6, 7, 8 years. So whenever we started, do you know what I mean? It's like if we start with a guy, you know, he's under 12, we know the under 12s, under 13s are all tracked now. But when did we start? You know? What's the payoff? Like, so your payoff is 6 or 7 years in this kind of stuff. Like, so listen, I don't know about any of this stuff. You probably have questions I won't be able to answer them. I'm just giving a general summary of what was explained to me today by people who are involved in this area. Not in Cork City, just around the place. And the thing was like, years behind Shamrock Rovers, and you're years behind being able to generate the fees that Shamrock Rovers are able to generate, especially for a lad who's only played 6 games in the Premier or in the First Division. It's not like he has 2 years under his belt. With that in mind, you kind of go, okay, maybe.
Go on.
Well, that was very interesting, actually. Very, you wouldn't have even thought of that kind of stuff. But like you said there, 6 games in the First Division or so, whatever it is, you'd wonder what we would have gotten if it was Premier Division, that he had made those appearances, or if he had a full season or so on. Like, you would think there'd be more to it, but like you said, there's so much more behind it that could make that redundant, essentially. But yeah, the fact that it's, you know, we saw him, we saw the potential that he has, and he has so much potential. He is like, for a fella his age, he's just such a maturity about defending, and he defends so well that everyone can see the potential, but then you have to go, okay, yeah, look at who he's defending against, and look at, would he have managed in the Premier Division? I personally believe he would, but there is also that aspect of it that nobody can be sure, nobody can guarantee that he would succeed at a higher level too. I'm delighted of all the teams from to go to. It's Brentford, because there's a nice Irish base over there, even in the first team and everything. It's nice that he's going to be surrounded by other Irish people, and that's why, I mean, if you follow any English team, it should be Brentford at the moment, because they are the team that's got the most Irish about it. But also, what I really hope doesn't happen is that he gets lost in the system of English football, because that is a big fear. So many players go over things, like look at when we had Cathal Heffernan a couple of years ago, there was so much made about him. He was the next big thing. Now he's playing at a level that's probably League of Ireland at best. I don't know, is he in League 2 or has he gone off that altogether? So
I don't know, is that club Northern Premier Division, or are they?
I feel like they were League 2 last year, but I think they were headed for relegation. I assume they did get relegated. If they did, then he's like probably at a level that is comparable to the First Division. So you hope that it doesn't go that way for Donal, because he does have so much potential there. You just hope that he can build a great career for himself.
Without getting too bogged down on it, and football fans want things and they want them now. We're down a centre back as well. Does that matter? Because the league is basically wrapped up. Or what's your thoughts on that? Decky, I'll go back to you.
Sorry, I just saw there was a sending off in the women's game I'm watching there, and I just tuned out for a second.
Dom, you'll take that one up for me.
Yeah. And look, it comes back to the whole thing of this transfer window. This July window was meant to be the big one that we were going to build our Premier Division team for. It was all about the next window and so on. But now at the end of the window's finished. we've lost a player, and we've less players than we had at the start of the window. We're weaker than we were at the start of the window. I don't know how that can happen. Like, we spoke last week about, is it the worst transfer window in history for the club? I mean, it clearly is. And it's only getting worse as it's ended, because now, like, you know, there's overall this season, you were thinking the silver lining for the season is, can we bring through young players? Can we develop young players and give them a chance to progress and build our future team from our academy? But like, other than Cillian Murphy, it hasn't really happened. Donal O'Connor was the kind of standout player aside from him. So you're thinking, right, you're not going to be starting him in the Premier Division next year, but if you can give him a good role off the bench, then he could develop so much and everything. But we haven't actually really progressed any players this season. And what's going to happen is they'll wait until we win First Division next month and then start playing them. But it's not the same. The players need to be in. They need to be on the pitch in those games that have consequence, that result in whether you win it or not. It's no point winning the league and then playing the academy players. So, yeah, to go back to your question about we needed to be able to replace him, because our centre backs now that we have Feely, who's playing as a right back, Kelleher, Lyons. That's it, really. I know Ensak can play there, but I think he's a right back more so. But fucking hell, I mean, who of them are going to be playing next year? You'd hope Feely, but what kind of a team are we building?
Will Ensak be in the country?
Yeah. The end saga could continue.
Why?
I think we might have a new centre back next year.
Oh yeah, based on what?
Just remember what I said 3 months ago, that I'd be happy enough. We brought in 3 or 4 in this window, and we did deals with people for the January window. I believe there's a deal done with a centre back for the January window. I'm not going to name them because, you know, I also said 3 months ago I wouldn't name players because I think it's unfair at the moment towards the end. And I'm not, before people go, I'm not doing the I know stuff and you don't know shit, like, you know, but I name a name here and fucking all hell breaks loose then, like, you know, so I don't see the upside to it. But there's an indication that at least there's a deal done with at least one player, whether that's an actual, you know, pre-contract or whether it's just a gentleman's agreement. I have no idea. Somebody else said to me they have a couple of guys coming in. Again, don't know, is that from within this league or have they done deals with fellas for January and from other leagues? I genuinely don't know. But this window has been a shambles. There's still no getting away from that. I agree with Dom. You can't, well, after everything Barry said, you can't come out of this window with less players than what you went into it. And more importantly, less quality than what you went into it. And that's what's happened. Like, I don't want to go in on Joe, I do. But he got 0 minutes in 2 games over the bank holiday weekend. That's pretty fucking astounding. For a new signing who we're bringing in for 6 months for him to have a look at us and us to have a look at him. That's pretty astounding. So, look, we'll see what happens. I'm actually going to be very pro fucking club tonight. I think in lots of ways. But yeah, listen, shambles of a window. But long term, we need numerous players. And by all accounts, in a key position, there is an agreement in place with at least one player to bring them in January.
All right.
That player that you're aware of, Decky, is that somebody who has like League of Ireland Premier Division experience?
Yeah.
So is it somebody we'll be happy with?
Define happy. I know. Like, there's no point in doing this. Yes, I think most people will be. Most people will be.
That's
right.
Good. But again, the problem is this needed to be done. Like, it's all well and fine building the team. Are we going to bring all these players in January, let them get to know the place and stuff? Yeah. Like, even if we have a great window in the off season, even if we build a great team, it's still just too late. Like there needed to be work done before the season started. There needed to be more work done this summer, and it's not just one window won't do anything.
I know. There's nobody talking about building great teams. It's just possibly one deal done for the summer.
Jesus.
All right. Attendances was at 1,700 for the Athlone game. Decky, surely a big worry, especially after, what was it, the bank holiday back in April? We had the roaring success of the Kerry game on the Monday. Was there 5,000 in the cross?
There was more.
Everyone went home happy that day anyway.
Yeah. Look, I don't know why they didn't do a promotion again for Monday. It kind of seemed the most logical thing to do. I think between here and the end of the season, there was 1,700 officially there. I don't think there was anywhere near 1,700 there, to be honest, but I'm not even going to fucking argue. Kerry's not here. Thing, you know. The thing is, you need jeopardy. There's no jeopardy. We're 20 points clear. The other attraction was maybe seeing young fellas and guys who'd go and watch it. Yeah, I think he can do it. No, I don't think he can do it in the Premier League. No. To be fair to Rory O'Hagan, he said it to Barry post-game in the interview put out after the game yesterday that, you know, oh no, you're 20 points clear, surely a good opportunity to have a look at players. And Barry Robson said, no, we have to win the league. We have to win the league first. So that was the first clear indication that he's not going to play young fellas until such time as the league is won. Dom has referenced that already. I think you better get used. You get used to your 1,700s, I think, between now and the rest of the season. And it's unfortunate, and there was stuff in the forum today about marketing and this and that and everything else. In football, the only form of marketing that works is putting out a good team on the pitch. And listen, I understand we're 20 points clear, but we're in the wrong division. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And the problem is there's so many people kind of have walked away or don't go to games and they don't like Dermot, and it's kind of clear Dermot doesn't like a lot of the fan base, and etc, etc, etc. And I don't think that relationship ever gets repaired. I genuinely don't. I think opening night next year, Premier Division, where we'll be at home, we're always at home opening night, the new team, promoted teams, they'll be 6,000, 5,500, 6,000, and just slowly drop off. Unless we're good. And Dermot said 2 or 3 years after the first relegation, he was on a podcast, maybe it was his own, and he said, the one thing I learned is that everything comes from the men's first team. And I thought, okay, he's got it. It took him a year, but he's got it. But that hasn't been reflected in how that first team squad has been put together since. So, look, it is what it is for now. All eyes to next year. It's going to be costing Dermot a pretty penny. Like this year, it's nowhere near, I would imagine, what was budgeted for in terms of attendance. And I know they would have budgeted for lesser attendances, but it still has to be costing a pretty penny. And they have to spend, put a good team on the park, and then hope that people come to see it. It's very difficult. It's extremely difficult from the position they now find themselves in.
All right, and the last one here for Commie Watch. The Pride jerseys, Decky, they got their first outing of the weekend. A fabulous jersey. Well, what do you make of it?
Listen, we're a community club. The club, in my opinion, have been fucking outstanding on this one. Right? Genuinely outstanding on this one. They launched it, what was it, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whatever it was. Obviously, this weekend was Cork Pride, for people who don't know. The women wore it in Douglas Hall on Sunday. The lads wore it on Monday. It's a nice jersey. I think it looks great. It looked, I can't say it looked great in the girls because that's just going to sound absolutely horrendous, but it looked great in the lads, Keats looks good in anything, looked good on Hands, looked good on Conor Brand in the goalkeeper's jersey, it's great to see them all in it, and it was pointed out to me that Cork Pride and the events around Cork Pride over the weekend, that there was an unbelievable number of people wearing that Cork City jersey. Like far more than you would have thought or you would have imagined. I don't know how many jerseys they sold. But seemingly at these events, there was people talking about, yeah, I'm going to go watch the women's team now because they did a jersey, and I'm going to go out to Turner's Cross. I'm going to go to the next home game. And, so it seems to have caught on within the LGBTQ community that this club has done a jersey. We're now wearing the jersey. The next step we have to take now is we have to go and support. And listen, it's going to be the women who go and support the women. That's what we need. We need women going to women's sporting events. Pack the cross with lesbians, I say, as many as you possibly can, and let them loose. And if that's what's coming out of Cork Pride, then absolutely fantastic. And I think, again, I said it's going to be very pro-club. You have to tip your hat to the club. When they do good shit, we will say, fair play, you've done good shit. And they did good shit with this jersey. And I think and I hope that they get the payback. As I said, obviously I wasn't at Cork Pride, but obviously people we know were at Cork Pride. And this was the feedback, that there was a huge number of people wearing the jersey because it's very distinctive. It has, do you know what I mean? The rainbow and everything else. It's what the LGBTQ community look to wear, and times like Pride and just in general. And as I said, fair play.
I think even the I'm Grand Mem lads, the two Cork A fellas were very, very funny. They have the jerseys as well. They wear in the podcast, like.
Yeah, so. Again, I don't know those lads, but I presume they're buddies of Eileen's because she's fucking friends with everybody, like, so, she's listening now going, yeah, I know him, all right, I was on the phone to him last night or whatnot, like, but, so look, as I said, fair play to the club.
Dom, let them loose, Dom. Would you be in favour of that?
Maybe. Like, everybody knows I'm a big, advocate for the LGBTQ community anyway, so I haven't said anything in any way out of step.
Right, we'll get on to a bit of football. The good times are back anyway. It's fairly safe to say City beating Harps 3-0 on Friday, beating Athlone 3-2 yesterday. Dom, what's your takeaway from the weekend?
Well, with the Harps one first, so to be honest, and this kind of goes back to the talk about the attendance too, like, I was actually out Friday and I was planning on going home for the match, and the match started and I was like, I can't really be arsed now. I did get home for the second half and watch the second half with Kevin Barry, but then I watched the highlights back, and so I watched the second half, then watched the highlights back, and there was nothing happening in the first half, and you're like, I was like, I actually made a decision. You know what I'm like? I watch every match, and
you've given up a holiday to go to a fucking game.
Yeah, and even this season, like, I watched the match and then I go back and rewatch it, and like I watched the highlights and I was like, I can't even be arsed watching it back. It wasn't the most exciting, but like, based on what I saw, it looked like we had all the possession really, and then I went to check the stats and we had 63% possession. I also saw that we had 2.74 XG compared to their 0.6, which does seem about right, because we did seem to have a couple of chances, a couple of attempts and everything. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, it was quite a boring game, wasn't it?
Decky, to go into this one, like, how many times has been mentioned on the forum, in our WhatsApp, online, that was the most boring game of the year, and each game seems to nearly outdo itself.
No, I won't be saying that about its own. I have a different view on that.
It was, but as I said, I was going to be very pro-club tonight. I was just like, when we were 3-0 up against that loan yesterday, I was just kind of going, can't give out about this weekend. There's nothing we can give out about. We went up to Donegal. Okay, it wasn't great. The performance was back to front, skip out the midfield. Like, we know structurally and how we play, it's not great. And it was 0-0, and Shawnee came on and he's back from injury and he completely changed the game. He had 2 assists and an unbelievable reverse pass into Keats for his goal. he has a hand in Cian Murphy's goal, and the fact that he's kind of assisting the assister. He's the one who wins back possession, blowing your man off the ball. As I said, and you're just going like, okay, it wasn't great, but we won the game 3-0. We went all the way to Donegal. It was a shocking game of football. But was it a case of we got dragged down to Finn Harp's level a little bit, and it got scrappy, and Shawnee came on, and he's just got that level of class that no other player in this division has, and he got us over the line. You go to Athlone, we're 3-0 up, we're absolutely cruising. Athlone have hit the post. Lomboro, who Tom has mentioned every time we play Athlone in the preview, I really like this guy.
That's not going to change this week.
Yeah, he was tearing us a new one down his side. But we were 3-0 up and we were comfortable. And all of a sudden they get one back. And then you get a second, which we'll talk about in a minute. It's the most horrific set-piece defending you've ever seen. And it's 3-2, and we go from absolute calm and controlled, and it's been a great weekend, to there's an element here that we're hanging on against the second bottom side in the league, and it's because we can't put a foot in the ball in midfield and we can't control the game. And again, I come back to this leadership point I made last week, or maybe it was the week before. Like, just when you need players to just grab a hold of the scruff of the neck of the game and just go, all right, listen, here we go now. We're going to just keep the ball for the next 15 minutes, not do anything silly, see out the game, win the game 3-0. That's fine. Their opening goal is really, really poor. I think personally Brand should do better. It drops it, hits off and whatever. I don't know, maybe I'm really harsh on goalkeepers. I probably am. I feel like he should not leave it back into play.
Had that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do you know?
Yeah, there's no defending that.
And they score, and as I said, they'd hit the post previously, but like up to yesterday, Athlone had only scored twice in one game away from home all season, and that was away at Finn Harps, the bottom side. So now they've scored twice away at Finn Harps, the bottom side, and twice away at the team who are now 20 points clear at the top. It's the same, like, and that's football. It's the same as like the UCD. UCD have lost. They've only one win in their last 5 games. That one win is when they beat the team who are 20 points clear at the top 5-2 last week. You know, it's football. It's fucking mad. But like, yeah. So again, I think we're 20 points clear. We're going to win the league. It's only a matter when we do it. It's all eyes, and it's always been all eyes on next season. And you look at that Athlone game, you go, this team are second from bottom of the first division, and they've battered us, especially second half. And I don't know, I had it somewhere. The XG, they won that XG battle yesterday. They had more shots on goal. They had more shots on goal. They had more shots on target. They had more corners, and they had a better XG. So all the attacking parameters of the game, they came out on top in all of them. You're kind of going, how does that happen? When we were 3-0 up at Turner's Cross, and at one point you thought, if we don't get 6 or 7 here, we've probably fucked the whole thing up. Instead, you're hanging on to win 3-2 at the end of the game. 3-2, we'd 1.69. I don't think that's an accurate reflection because, anyway, 2.58. The 1.69, Keith's opening goal. And this is my big problem with XG and why I rarely talk about it. Keith's opening goal, the XG and that's only 0.65. And he's standing in the middle of the goal with no one around him. The keeper is out of play. He cannot miss. It's better than a penalty. It should be 1. It's impossible for him to miss. But it's only 0.65 because XG just says if there was 1,000 shots taken from that spot, and it includes when there's 5 players on the line and there's a goalkeeper active and everything else, it applies the same XG. So that's my issue with the XG. It's not always an accurate reflection of what's going on, but it does tend to even itself out over the course of the season as well. So listen, in terms of first division, brilliant weekend. absolutely fantastic. In terms of what happens next week, that Athlone from half an hour on should scare the living daylights out of Cork City fans.
But Dom, does this just come back to the whole thing of like switching off in games and the first division being such a slog? We go 3-0 in front, and then surely in the players' heads, sure, look, the game is over.
Yeah, do you know that at lone game, like up until we got to third goal, it was quite a good game because both teams were good attacking and both teams were shit defensively, which meant that anything could happen. There was a risk that every time either team crossed the halfway line that there's a goal there. But once we went 3-0 up, it killed the game for us. So great game up until 3-0. From 3-0 until 3-2, there was only one team in it, and that was Athlone. And I was very impressed with how Athlone did going forward, and it was all through Grady Lamboto, who was by far the best player on the pitch yesterday. Like he was way better than anyone that we had on the pitch. And it's funny because I had pointed him out right back to the start of July as somebody that we should be looking at signing, and that's only proven my thought, or not proved my thought, but like further led me to believe that he is a kind of a player that we should be looking at, to be honest. But like once they got the second goal, then we started to come into it again, and that's grand. But like we can't afford to switch off like that next season. It's only because the teams that we're playing that we can get away with that now. We won't get away with it next season. And the thing that I was thinking of during the match was that at one point, Decky referenced all the stats favoured Athlone. Athlone were the better team. Like they just were. If you were to bring somebody into that match who had no knowledge of the League of Ireland, didn't know anything about either team, had no idea, and say one of those teams is professional, top of the league by 20 points, and one of the biggest teams in the country, and the other is amateur and they're second last in the league, and they've no success in history really, and asked them which one was which. You wouldn't be able to tell them the two teams apart, but also they would have come away from that match thinking, geez, we saw an upset here. The smaller team won. It's always nice to see, because we were just at their standard, really. Like it was a very good first division game, and there's been a couple of those this season that you're like, even when we lost to Longford, you say that was a very good first division game between two good first division teams. That's not good enough for us, because what you're doing is setting, like, this is where we are. Like, we can't be a first division team. We need to be above that. But yeah, I don't want to be negative. Like, I found the game quite enjoyable for the most part. Like Grady Lamboto, like I said, he was brilliant. But also Aaron Connolly was very good. James Crawford was very good for them. So it was good when they were going forward. They were good. When we were going forward, our problem was defensively we were shocking, and we weren't doing anything midfield. Niall O'Keefe was doing good. He was helping bring the ball, get the ball forward and stuff. And Dara Crowley had a good shot at one point and stuff. But like, there was just, yeah, we can't rely on attacking and hoping to outscore teams, because that's what we said we were going to do last year, and it didn't work.
Are you in a group chat with the sub goalkeeper from Treaty and Lamboto?
I'm their agent. I'm trying to get their moves. No, I do think Lamboto was a very good player. I just really, when you see a bit of potential in someone, you're like, right, it's interesting to see where this fella's going to go. I'd be delighted if we had him next season here. But the sickening thing, when I was in there, I know we've already spoken about the attendance, but like, there was so little there. It's nearly disheartening, because you can't feel like you're a part of something big when there's only 1,771 there. The club have said that's the attendance, so I would never accuse them of lying. That's definitely what was there, and even at that was shocking. I know they'd say it's bank holiday Monday. It was raining. We've won the league already. It's not good enough. You wouldn't get those excuses in the English league or in the GA or something. So it shouldn't have an effect on our attendance.
Your two most hated outlets.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
Well, you're a coach, Tom. Take us through, well, the first lone goal we gave away, but I think mainly the second one. We already kind of done the first one, but that second goal from the corner.
Do you know, the interesting thing about the second, like, I don't know, are we after changing something with our set pieces, defending set pieces? Because we had conceded very little set pieces, and then all of a sudden now there's things like that happen. Like, there was a free kick which caused, like, Brand kind of, again, like the first goal, I wouldn't be too critical on him for not catching it. It was quite low and stuff, but the fact he got his hands on it and then dropped it and it went out for a corner, and then they took the corner, and like, I don't know, that's two, because we conceded a set piece in UCD as well, so it's just a bit concerning. I don't know, we have to changing something.
Well, Decky, you have a strong opinion on this. Just nobody fucking marked Grogan, basically. And he just said it at home, no bother.
Yeah. We set up defensively different, I think, than we had been setting up at corners during the year. So we had 3 zonal along the 6-yard box. I think it was drawing, and there was 2 more then, but it was like front, middle, back. But the issue was there was a scrum, and Athlone had 5 players, and we had 4 defending them. So they were always, if they got their runs correct, they were always going to have a free man. And the corner came over, and it wasn't deep enough. And I think his Conor Droynan was the zone at the front post on the 6-yard line, got his head to it, and knocked it out for a second corner. So we'd had a warning. Grogan was already the free man from the scrum. He was already, and it was the first corner was very much a scrum, do you know, where they stand up against each other and whatnot. When the second corner has been taken, it's more, we get one-on-one. Keats' pick is it's very evident that we have 4 players picking up 4 of theirs, and Grogan's on his own. He's again the 5th one in there, but there's nobody marking him. And as the ball comes in, this time it clears the zone at the front, and Grogan's off and running, and bang, he meets it, empty net. But what I'm concerned about is we had the warning. And nobody, and I put this on the players, I think it's structure and coaching, the way we were set up. But surely one of the players has to realise that Grogan at the first corner has run free. And go, okay, right, I know there's 3v in the zone here, but we actually need one of you out here. There's a real danger as your man here, 5 against 4, so we need somebody else to come in here and pick him up. And nobody does it. And I can't help but think, if Balger's on the pitch, does Greg pick up on it and sort it out? And the goal never happens? I don't know, but I'm kind of presuming he would have. And that second corner comes in, and Grogan has the freedom of the box. And as I said, if they had scored from the first one, you'd go, all right, okay, it wasn't. But we had the warning, and we still weren't on it. And it's those things that as you take into next year and you think that they're the big concerns. It's like, because, like, you know, you won't get like fucking the big fear will be in the Premier Division next year. The team would have scored from the first one, and you don't get a chance to correct it. We were given a chance to correct it, and we still didn't do that. And it's really poor. And I do wonder if there's enough coaches on the line as well. I do wonder, is it something they should have seen? Or can you get a message in that quickly and all that stuff? Probably not. So sometimes the players there and then have to take responsibility for it. And I think that's one of those scenarios.
This is it, Dom. Do you think there's any, you're there saying set pieces have changed over the last few weeks, anything to do with the appointment of Neil MacDonald in the back room? That's something he's changed something?
Yeah, it seems to be since he's come in that they've kind of changed the way they've been setting up. I think it could be a coincidence. It could be, but what are the chances of that actually being the case? I don't know. It's almost as if he came in and wanted to put a mark down with a couple of things. Even like I was looking at their warm up, and I text you into the group chat or before the match. I was like, "Watch now, it'll be I expect a lot of long balls by us. No, there wasn't, but all their warm-ups was like they were preparing to do long balls. They didn't do it in the end. So then it was like, I've never seen them warm up like this. I've never seen them do this kind of a warm-up before. So like, is that also something that he's changed? So it's hard to know, really. But like, there is a clear change in a number of things since he's come in. Could just be a coincidence.
Decky, would you subscribe to that idea, or what do you think?
Listen, you bring in new coaches, new management, something's always going to change. You know, I don't get too worked up about it, to be honest with you. I think different coaches have different ideas, especially around zonal versus man-to-man and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, from corners versus free kicks on the edge of the box versus free kicks halfway inside the half versus free kicks on the halfway line. There's all different alignments and different things they're doing and going on. But as I said, my thing was just kind of like, my disappointment was that they had a warning and nobody on the pitch corrected the issue that presented itself the first time. And the second time, which was about 20 seconds later, same player has a free run, bang, 3-2. We put ourselves in unnecessary jeopardy, was my view.
And just on like different coaches of different things in zonal marking and man-to-man marking and stuff, I hate zonal marking from corners. I think, like, there's the old saying, a zone has never scored a goal, but to me, it's so obvious, and this is a textbook thing. There, did you saw on Monday night that the free player from when you have to go, you have to man mark, and if you leave a player open in the box, they're likely to score a goal, and that's exactly what happened.
Right, guys, we'll leave it there. Dan's just disappeared. Don't know what's happening. He's dropped out of the studio. I presume maybe his internet went bang or something. But time-wise, it's the perfect time to take the break. So listen here all about Saley, and we'll be back after this.
Meet Evan from Cork. Evan is a research every hostel kind of guy, but Evan is also cheap. He refused to pay for international data because, in his words, I'll just use Wi-Fi. It'll be grand. Fast forward to a foggy mountain pass in Vietnam. Evan's on a motorbike. It's pitch black. Suddenly, the bike dies. No signal, no GPS, just Evan, the fog, and a very creepy silence. He stumbles upon a farmhouse where a local man looks him dead in the eye and says, "You ride more, you die." In the morning, Evan sees the truth. He was 2 minutes away from driving off a cliff into a ravine. Don't be a cliff top, Evan. Staying connected isn't about posting your lunch. It's not about being the subject of a true crime podcast. With Saley eSIM, you get instant data the second you land. No sketchy Wi-Fi, no dark ravines. Download Saley, because I'll be grand. Our famous last words. Head to Saley, that's SAILY.com/TOTAP for 15% off as a TOTAP loyal listener.
All right, welcome back to part 2 TOTAPper. It is now time for your mailbag.
Postman Pat, and in black and white cat.
The cat mix race.
Early in the morning.
Right.
Our lovely Patreons, Connor Macca, Sue Games and Edu couldn't even get pity minutes. Chris and Sass still having work permit issues almost a month on from signing, and Donal O'Connor also gone. In a window that needed to see us bring in reinforcements, how did we end it with a thinner squad? The only thing that can make me cope a small bit is the idea that Usher may be selling. I didn't want to invest much. However, there doesn't seem to be much hope of that. Dom, we'll go to you here. All right. Dom's having big issues getting on the pod. Decky, what are your thoughts on it? How did we end up with a thinner squad?
I genuinely don't know. It's mind-boggling. Genuinely mind-boggling. Maybe the Donal O'Connor one caught them on the hop. You kind of get over that if it did. But we could not come out of this window with less numbers and less quality than what we had going into the window. And we've managed to do both. Now, I believe Barry Robson said in his press conference post yesterday's game that Insah might be sorted by the end of this week. So maybe he becomes available for the Kerry game, or if not, whatever the following game is. But again, that's just... It's two guys in. And to be fair, poor Joe, as that poster pointed out, he didn't get a minute. Like, that's not good. That's not good. And Kerry was on this 2 weeks ago very, very quickly. And I don't know. And I have to wonder about Barry Robson and how he sees things privately. He's way too cute and way too well media trained to ever say anything that's going to give away his true feelings. But I'd love to know when he's sitting at home down in Fora, 11 o'clock on a Thursday night, what's he really thinking about what happened during this window.
Moving on, Colin Kiley. Hopefully, Dom, you're back with us. Hi, lads. With 2 wins over the weekend, you think everything will be positive, but it's hard to feel that way. Robson talked about us being outstanding in the first half, but I didn't see it in that way from the stands. We capitalised on Athlon's diabolical attempts to play out from the back, but they were cutting through us at will. We got away with murder, and we won't get away with defending like that in the Premier Division, just as the lads were saying earlier. Personally, I think Robson will be gone by the start of next season. What do you think? He must be fed up. He simply isn't being backed, as we've seen time and time again with previous managers. Dom, do you think Barry goes?
Yeah, do you know, I'd also be concerned about that because, like we've mentioned it a lot over the last couple of weeks that he does seem frustrated, and rightfully so. He should be frustrated. So I'd imagine there must be something in his head going, what the fuck am I doing this for? Like, how do I win here? So it's definitely a concern. The other concern is who do you get in afterwards? Like, who is the next manager after Barry Robson? You would hope any club, regardless of anything, all clubs should have a contingency plan. You never know what's going to happen. So you'd like to think that they have a bit of a short list of who they would look at, who they would want. I can't imagine they do. And that's not just because of the situation that we're in, like as in any Shamrock Rovers, Shells, well, not Shells, Bows, and everyone should be having a what if, who knows what's going to happen, what if we need to find a new manager in the morning. So you should always be planning ahead. We particularly should be, because he's given all the indications that he's not going to be around for very long.
All right, moving on. Dara asks, who is the best LOI pundit? Decky. No, I know I'm talking to him, but you can't pick yourself. Who's the best LOI pundit?
It's not Alan Cawley anyway. I can say that straight out. Do you know what? This will be possibly controversial. I don't know. And it's not for his tactical insights or any of that stuff. But I think the one who's probably most honest, Dan, and who isn't afraid to see say what he sees. Can't believe I'm going to say this. Is might actually be Vinnie Port. I've seen him recently 2-footing Stephen Kenny, pointing out how poor a job Kenny has done with Pats, with all the money he's given. That's correct.
No, naturally he hates it anyway.
He probably realises I might get another shot at management. Well, maybe there's an element to that, but it's not just about Stephen Kenny. Vinny says things that other people won't say because, listen, everybody's minding their P's and Q's, Dan. You know the game. We're different because we're not trying to break into media and we're not trying to, stroke egos and be nice to the FAI and be nice to the different clubs so we can have access. A lot of it is bullshit. And not just in this country, in every country. A lot of it is absolute codswallop. I genuinely think Vinny's just sitting there now at this point in his life going, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm just going to actually say what I see and say what I think and leave it fall as they will. Outside of that, in terms of just what's going on in the pitch and somebody who works hard and does his research and gets his ducks in a row, I actually think it's Barry Murphy. And I know he only does a lot of the Shamrock Rovers games with Con Murphy, but when he does pop up on RTE, on the radio, when you're listening to discussions he might be involved in on a podcast or anything like that, he always has his shit together. He knows his stuff. You know he's not bluffing. And I would hope that he might get more gigs over the coming years and become a little bit more prevalent. Just because I think, as I said, I think he has a work ethic that deserves it. And I do think he gives insights because he does his research and he works hard. And to be fair to him, he doesn't assume that he knows everything, and he doesn't assume that everybody hangs on every word he says, or that his words are more important than other people's words, So, yeah, I can't believe I put up Vinnie Perth, but yeah, I think Barry Murphy, and I think for honesty and just call it as you see it, I think Vinnie Perth is probably the best of them at this stage. But I don't listen to a whole lot of it, so I'm probably not the best man to ask, I haven't seen any of the Virgin Media TV games because obviously we're at games or we're watching games ourselves, so I don't know how the likes of Tim Clancy do in terms of punditry. I don't know. What's your man's name? The guy, he was Shelburne manager before Duff. He won the first division and they sacked him 3 weeks before the season finished. Anyway, people will know who I'm talking about. He does a lot of the punditry on Virgin. I don't know what he's like, but as I said, I'll go with Barry Murphy.
Roy O'Sullivan, Kerry, by far the farm team in the division, begs the question if we made a mistake getting rid of Colin Healy from the club. Youth manager, director of football, women's and men's team manager, all were a possibility for him. Would you take him back to the club in any capacity?
I'm always a great believer in Ian Morris, is who I was trying to think of. Sorry. I'm always a great believer in, especially managers, don't ever go back. I think it's hard to live up to the first time. Like if JC was to come back now, it's hard for him to live up to that double. Now I know Colin only won a first division, but it's the first division we weren't supposed to win. Galway were favourites. I think it was Galway or Waterford were both, going to battle it out. Speaking of pundits, Alan Cawley said that year, and it's the only year the league did a live league preview on LOI TV, and Cawley had Treaty United third, and he made a statement that said Cork City might scrape into the playoffs if we were lucky, or something like that. And we won the division. So Colin did an unbelievable job that year. Then we had the takeover and he was gone by May. We didn't get rid of him, I don't think. I think Colin walked. Yeah, I'd have Colin back, but legacy-wise and everything else, I'm a great believer in don't go back. Just travel that road once. He's never coming back under this ownership anyway, so that's neither here nor there. But I think if he wanted an academy job or something like that, the door would always be open to him. But I would imagine he sees himself as a first-team manager now and a first-team manager only.
They're on a good run of form. We'll get into that one. Anthony Falvey says, we were told in so many words that AJ Bridge left because he wasn't ready for our first team. We've now replaced him with a guy who's clearly further off the required standard. Ensah is MIA and O'Connor is gone, so now we're worse off than the start of the window. Dominic said it perfectly. Commitment to failure. Is there a commitment to failure, Decky?
Yeah, I think Dominic's comment last week, which was just throwaway, commitment to failure comment, did garner a lot of interest, shall we say. Look, I can't speak for Dom. He's back now, so maybe.
For how long?
How putting this fucking podcast together, lads. Poor old Ron. But listen, anyway, yeah. I mean, Anthony said it in his own question, and we've had it already. It was almost impossible that we could come out of that window worse off than we went into it, and somehow we managed it. Crazy.
Peter Sullivan, any word on Irish lads coming home off contract who are worth looking at or is that market currently gone, given Brexit, etc.? Defence diabolical again Monday evening, only for Bren. The whole game was ponderous, to be fair. I don't think that's the word I've ever read out on TOTAP. Although it was funny with everyone apportioning blame to the free header for the Athlone goal. Someone please take some responsibility. Peter Sullivan, a very well-spoken man, it must be said. Dom, any Irish lads out there, do you know who are worth looking at coming home from the UK?
There has to be some out there. And Joe, this is something I meant to research a bit before the transfer window to see. But, I mean, am I right in saying we can get players... How long can we get free agents for? Is it the end of August? Or is it...
End of August, yeah. I don't want to hear free agents. I have no fucking interest, genuinely. The last batch we had just scared the living shit out of me, like.
Yeah, overall, if you do it wrong, like we have done all along, then it's a disaster. But if you pick up somebody who was an Irish player who's played, maybe if there's players out there who have experience in the League of Ireland, went over, didn't work for them, then maybe that would be okay. But no, I agree with you. That overall, I'd prefer to be going for experienced players.
Just quickly there, Dan, on the Brexit point that was mentioned, it's actually something I hadn't thought about. But when you think players could go at 15, 16, so they were coming home at 2021. No, they can't go till they're 18. So there isn't as many of them going. This is my point. So as the contributor said, is that market dying or really, really getting smaller because of Brexit? I think it is. It's not something I thought about, but the second he said it, it just feels like it is. There's not as many going. They're not going as young. And the ones who go, you feel like have a better chance of making it at 18 than they would have had at 14, 15, 16. So therefore, in this window, there is like how many young Irish lads have you seen come back to the country? I haven't heard of, maybe 3 or 4 max. Whereas always there would have been plenty of them out there, and there was, they'd pop up at Bray and Wexford and everywhere and anywhere, and it just feels like the numbers aren't there because the numbers aren't going. They're definitely not going as young, and it's all playing into the lack of available bodies in the UK that are looking to come home.
All right, so moving on to our ex Donncha McCarthy. Hi lads, are we officially done for since we are so shit? What is your go-to takeaway from a local chipper? Mine's 3 battered sausages and chips. Dom, you can take that one up first.
Are we officially done because we're shit? Yes. Chipper, I wouldn't eat that kind of food. I'm an athlete. Only proper healthy pasta, chicken, broccoli, fucking all the healthy stuff. But if I was, then it'd be taco chips, I'd say.
You are very slim, City fan, it must be said. Few and far between. Maybe that's why you hate Nigel Keefe so much. Why Nigel Keefe so much. Decky, what's your go-to?
I'm very bland. I'm very plain. It's always a breast of chicken and chips. Just plain old roast chicken, not fucking barbecue or not southern fried or any of that fancy shit. Just plain old. You can, but they're not going to the chipper then. So I don't go often. I don't know people look at the size and go, I'm fucking 5 nights a week in the chipper. Once every 3 or 4 months, But yeah, the breast of thing. Although Chinese maybe once every 3 months or so as well. Sweet and sour chicken there then as well. No veg, just chicken, egg fried rice and sauce. Grand job.
Right, Billy Dorney. Era at this stage, who gives a fuck? We're back on the bridge of the Titanic. Massive bastard of an iceberg a few miles ahead. Plenty of time to evade trouble. But as sure as shit, we're going to plough into it. Lots of fans in the lifeboats sailing away. Will they return? Dom.
I feel like we're on the Titanic, but it's 1914, 1915. I mean, we've already sank. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Yeah, I was wondering the dates.
We were on the Titanic there.
We're not educated enough, Dom. We're not educated enough.
What was it? 1912? Was it?
Well, 1912, yeah.
There you go. Fair play to you. Tim O'Keefe, is it the fact that the players know they're going to win the league that they seem to switch off in games? After watching a few Premier games over the weekend, we're miles off those teams. Decky, I think that's largely what it is, surely. But they went 3-0 ahead, and then we're like, all right, we have this.
There has... Yeah, listen, there has to be an element to it. It's something that we spoke about last week. I think there's an element of it there. It's hard to put your finger on it. Dominic spoke last week about different types of motivation, intrinsic and whatever, altruistic or whatever it was.
Extrinsic.
Extrinsic, okay. Altruistic is something else again. Yeah. But like, it's just, yeah, like, I don't know what the fuck, like I can't get motivated to answer this question. No, not mind fucking, lads trying to be motivated when they're 3-0 up at home to Athlone, but then you're a professional and you're supposed to be on it and you're playing for contracts for next year. And Barry Robson said 2 or 3 times in different press interviews that he's not going to allow him to drop off, and he's warned him there's no, there's nothing like that's allowed to happen. So it's human nature. It's human nature, and it has to be playing a part.
Anthony Falvey, I don't know, did you get a chance to see it, Dom? He has created a new Cork City badge with commitment to failure written on it as the new logo. So it could catch on. Could be in the shade with
Brilliant.
balls to the wind sometime soon. Look, there's been a few here on X.
Next to the balls to win banner in the shed.
That's it. There's been a few here on X. Won't get time to get to them all, lads, at this stage. The internet issues have been insane. So we're going to go to one here from City CJ, the last one. Pain has a purpose. When you reach rock bottom, it galvanizes you into making a decision. It creates urgency and forces a response. You know something has to change it for it to be better, so you do everything you can to make that change. But when something sits in the middle between not good enough to energize you, but also not bad enough to break you, you get none of that clarity and none of the urgency. You just slowly drift away into the slow death of mediocrity. Measuring the situation against the worst possible situation instead of the potential you have. As long as things are not as bad as they could be, we accept this as success and continue to be numb, and the benchmark of success continues to lower without ever being aware. This is what's happening to City right now. It's been happening since Usher's first relegation. No one is allowed to complain right now because we're top of the league, but we have every right to complain. We just don't because the fans are numb. We don't even remember what real success is. If we don't recognise that this is happening to us in the next 6 months, we are actually finished as a club. The Dublin teams are getting further and further away from us, and we risk never being able to catch up ever again. Usher has to go, all his cronies have to go, and we have to gut the club from the inside out and start again. Usher out, City till I die. Pretty lengthy one, Decky. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's just what we said last week about lowering expectations. It's quite clear to see. I mean, the audio from Barry's press conference after last night's game, he mentions how he has to praise some of the senior players because they've been done quite badly with the relegation last year. And like he was talking about, he doesn't say it out like, but that people have had a go at them and whatnot, and all the fans would agree this year that they've been excellent. And you hear that stuff and you go, okay, this is a media trained manager. But even he must know he's talking bollocks, like, to be fair, like, he has to, like, but everything is just lowering, and there was a line in that about, success is diminished every week, or, what we describe as success, that bar is lowered and lowered and lowered. And no success is winning the first division. It's staying in the Premier Division next year. Whereas we see Shams fans last week, maybe 20-25% of them online calling for the manager's head because they didn't get to the next round of the Champions League. It's not that long ago that we were ahead of Shamrock Rovers. It's only 7 or 8 seasons. That's not that long in football. And that's how the bar has been lowered. That's how things have changed. Dermot and his cronies have to go. I don't know. I don't think... Does Dermot have cronies, to be fair? I don't know. Like, I've no problem with him staying if fucking everything changes. But... And again, and we spoke about this before we started recording, everything is shit now. We had a shit window. Now the rumours will start coming out about, oh, they've done a deal with this player for next year, they've done a deal with that player for next year. And if I'm the club, I'm 100% leaking those things. 100%. You need to energise your fan base somehow. So slip it to Rory O'Hagan, slip it to John Fallon, slip it to Dan MacDonald. You know? Slip it to Scott Buckley or League of Ireland Talk or somebody. Give it to somebody, obviously, but just get them out there as they happen and energise the fan base some way. But look, the problem we have is history. You know, I would say history is doomed to repeat itself, and all City fans can see is history repeating itself. And you hope that Simon Grayson changes history. You hope Liam Carney changes history. You hope Barry Robson changes history. Will they? Only time will tell. But as I keep saying, the fan base have no trust in the club to do things differently than they were done the last 2 times we were promoted. And I think it's a big ask of the club to expect the fan base to believe that things are going to be different. So it's on them to show that they're changing, that they're doing things better than they were done previously. And until such time as the fan base sees that, they're just not going to buy into it. So it's actually on the club, they said, to show the fan base and put some energy in the fan base, not the other way around.
All right, we'll cut you off there before Dom comes in and we're here for another 20 minutes with his response. All right, the finger lickers at home this coming Friday. Dom, how are you feeling about it? They're on a pretty good run of form at the moment. Beat Cove Ramblers 3-0, beat Bray 4-0, beat Shells, of course, in the Cup, and beat Finn Harps 2-1. So four games for them.
Yeah, John, they are probably the informed team at the moment. They've only lost once since the end of May. So that's quite good in fairness. It's kind of come out of nowhere because they were looking, there was a lot of talks earlier in the year about would Colin Healy survive and everything there. But yeah, they're doing well. But the biggest shock was actually the 4-0 win against Bray, because Bray possibly were the informed team before that. But yeah, I mean, with Kerry, I'm expecting it to be maybe a bit of a scrappy game. There was a lot of tension the last 2 times we played them, and Barry actually spoke about that in his interview after the Athlone game on Monday, where he said that, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he referenced that he's really looking forward to it, and especially after the way they carried on down in Mount Talk Park after they beat us, where I think he said they were jumping around and screaming and shouting or celebrating or something along those lines. So that is, it's nice to have. It's like the closest we can get to feeling something in this division. You kind of want bits of rivalries built in there somewhere, and it's kind of the foundation of a siege mentality, which has always worked for Cork City and always should be the mentality at Cork City. But yeah, so I would hope that he brings that bit of a fight, that bit of venom into the team before the match. But I mean, there's not really, they're kind of players watching them. I've heard a lot of people talking about their goalkeeper, Matthew Connor, lately. I can't say I've seen much of him, but he seems to be, a lot of people I spoke to who know him seem to be thinking they're very happy with him anyway. Cian Murphy is their top scorer, and I mean, I'm not scared of Cian Murphy scoring against us at all, but I've always been a huge fan of Cian Bargray. But he's gotten 2 goals and no assists in the 16 games he's played so far this season. So I would have liked to see. He got an assist
against Cove on Monday anyway, because I watched it. So just I don't know how old your stats are there, but he definitely got one on Monday.
That would be that would be after it. But whether it was updated to reflect that, so yeah, it's hard to know. but I would like to have seen more from him. I would like him to do well. I do like him. He was always a very good player for us, but it's interesting. When I was trying to do some bit of research into it, and I was looking at stats and stuff, and something that kind of stood out to me, according to SofaScore, and I don't know how accurate this is or what it means or anything, but I was looking at, they always have a section of errors leading to shots. Kerry have 170 errors leading to shots this season. City have 123. I just like, that seems like a really high number. So I went through all of the first division teams. Brave 168, UCD 131, Longford 141, Wexford 138, Cove 139, Treaty 140, Athlone 129, and Finn Harps 204. That's a serious amount of errors to be making, which I was like, how does that translate then? Apparently, in the English top league, it is 1 error per shot error leading to a shot per game. The average there, Kerry make an average of 7 errors leading to a shot, and City make 5. The League of Ireland Premier Division is actually less than 1 error leading to a shot every game. So that just shows the gulf between the Premier Division and the First Division there. If we have the lowest and we're making 5 errors, Kerry have the second highest and they're making 7 errors. It's kind of a scary stat, really. Like, but it sums up. It's not really surprising either, because we've all been saying it. We've been saying it all year that the quality of the league is shite, and the quality of our own defending leaves a lot to be desired. For.
You think we're going to win in it, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, look, we've played them 6 times ever. We've beaten them 5 times and only lost them the last time. Like the last time we played them, they beat us. Last time we played them in Turner's Cross was that one where we were losing 2-0 at halftime and ended up winning 3-2, which was a great game, in fairness. But yeah, we'll win. I would say 3-2.
Decky, how much are we beating these by? Are you worried about Cian Murphy and Bagsy?
I'm worried about Kerry in general. And I can't believe I'm saying this in the Cork City podcast, that I'm worried about the fucking finger lickers. But if you watch them against Cove, and if you watch them against Bray, they won the Bray game 4-0. I think Bray hit the post 3 times, and then had a man sent off, and then Kerry took them apart, right? But what they have in Bagsy on one side, and he plays Sean McGrath, sometimes he plays him as a 10. But when he plays McGrath off the left, he's really, really dangerous. Now, we had the Lomboro problem on Monday, and we played 3 centre-backs in Lyons, Kelleher and Feely, and we played Fitzpatrick and Drynan as 2 wing-backs. I fear if we go with the 3 centre-backs and the 2 wing-backs, that space between Fitzpatrick on that side and Feely, the space between the 2 of them as a wing-back and the right-sided centre-back of the 3 will be massively exposed with Sean McGrath. I'm presuming Colin is going to see this stuff and is going to play McGrath from the left like he did against Cove. You've probably seen the goal he scored. Brilliant control, beat 3-4 players, tucks it away. And they have Bagsy with pace down the other side. We don't do well against pace. Like, we know man for man. We know we're better than them. Like, that's not in question. But there are areas of their game and areas where they're strong that are natural weaknesses for us. Now, if we go with a flat 4 and he drops one of the centre backs and he goes with Drynan at left back and Harry Nevin at right back, or plays Feely as a right back, then we're a bit more structured to deal with McGrath and Bagsy. But if we go with the 3 centre backs, I do worry that they'll find ways to exploit that space at pace and cause us issues. And we already saw they scored twice in Turner's Cross previously. And this is fucking Kerry, like. This is Kerry. Why am I worried about fucking Kerry?
Are you
Well, here
playing
we are
into
having
the
a
bit of
serious
needle,
conversation.
or are you going away from it? Does that suit them?
I don't want to
kind
hear
of bring it
about
into
the
a
needle.
fight.
I don't want to hear about the needle, to be honest with you. Like, what are we talking about? Of course they celebrated in Montauk Park. They're in the league, 3-4 years? They beat Cork City. Why wouldn't they celebrate? And to be fair, they celebrate in that section in front of their fans every time they win a home game. They gather there. No, it was a bit more in your face. It was a bit more, well, hey. As I said, they beat the mighty Cork City. You had Colin, you had Keane, you had Bagsy, you had Aaron Healy, you had Jonas. There's a number of Cork City connections there as well. That all played into it. But like, I was there, I was looking at him. I didn't have an issue with it. I know if Barry had an issue, maybe there's other stuff happened. Do you know? And as Dom said, it's good to build something and, go rah, 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 we're going to do these guys. And he said it to the players, look how they celebrated the last time, so now you need to put them on their bus and back down to Kerry with a 3 or 4-0 defeat and put them back in their box. No issues with any of that stuff. But, like, it's fucking Kerry, no, lads. Do you know what I mean? Not being disrespectful to them. But, like, this is a game you can't lose. Like, game you can't lose. Score 3-1 to us.
Okay. Dom, what did you say again?
I'm going to change mine to 4-2 City.
I'll say 2-1 City. All right. What do you think the attendance is going to be, lads?
Around that 1,700 mark again.
17.
They'll bring a crowd. They'll bring a bit more of a crowd. I'm going to say 2. It'll go over 2, I think.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, they will fit a couple of buses. Yeah, to be fair, I didn't think of that.
But all right, that concludes a very difficult recording of the Other Three Amigos podcast. Decky, what are your thoughts on the pod?
I now understand how other people felt when I had all these issues a few years back. Tonight I'm just sitting here. Dominic's dropping in and off. You don't probably even know it, Dom, but there's a delay on your side since half time.
I can hear it. I can hear the delay. And I'm interrupting
you end up talking over.
More fucking, yeah.
Point fucking proven. So, it's been an interesting recording. But listen, there'll be something out there for the toe tappers. I'm sure they'll have to make the best of it that they possibly can. Poor old Ron, who looks after the editing for us, and that's going to have to take out the minutes, lots of minutes of...
You did take a 5-minute shit at one point.
Did you time it? Did you see what time you came back?
And I was still back before either you two guys got back online. Like, so, it was bad. Like, hopefully things are better next week.
I think we better say adios and fucking get the fuck out of here. Yeah, the fucking recording's fucked again. But anyway, yeah, adios, lads, adios.
Adios. Jesus.
Meet Evan from Cork. Evan is a research every hostile kind of guy, but Evan is also cheap. He refused to pay for international data because, in his words, I'll just use Wi-Fi. It'll be grand. Fast forward to a foggy mountain pass in Vietnam. Evan's on a motorbike. It's pitch black. Suddenly, the bike dies. No signal, no GPS, just Evan, the fog, and a very creepy silence. He stumbles upon a farmhouse where a local man looks him dead in the eye and says, "You ride more, you die." In the morning, Evan sees the truth. He was 2 minutes away from driving off a cliff into a ravine. Don't be a cliff top, Evan. Staying connected isn't about posting your lunch. It's not about being the subject of a true crime podcast. With Saily eSIM, you get instant data the second you land. No sketchy Wi-Fi, no dark ravines. Download Saily, because I'll be grand. Our famous last words. Head to Saily, that's SAILY.com /TOTAP for 15% off as a TOTAP loyal listener.